All right. We are in Verdun here by the shores of the beautiful St. Lawrence River, and there you can see a beautiful sight of ice floating by there in the distance. Look at that. Just beautiful. And where I am right now is actually a very interesting area. I don't know if you remember earlier this year, there was a famous Flushgate or Sewergate story back in, I think it was around October, November or so. And basically what happened was they were doing some work on the sewage network, and they had to, because of the way the construction was taking place, they had to end up dumping some sewage into the untreated sewage into the St. Lawrence River. And there was no alternative but to do this, they say. And this is an area where it's hard to tell right now, but this is an area where a lot of that raw untreated sewage ended up coming through. Now I'm going to put things in perspective here again. First of all, this is Verdun right now. You're looking at Ile de Sour across the river. Facing that way is towards the West Island. And basically, the way it works is very simple. I'm going to show you exactly where we are on the lovely GPS map system here. So, bring out my map. I don't know if you can make that out, but there's Ile de Sour right there. We're right across from Ile de Sour. If you zoom out a bit, give you more of a perspective. You got here the island of Montreal. So we're right in the southern part of the island here. Now, what happens is all the sewage that gets put into the sewage system ends up passing through a major conduit of pipes. This is basic knowledge. And those pipes eventually come together to form bigger pipes, which are called interceptors. Now, these interceptors bring the water from the sewage network to the water treatment plant in the east end of Montreal, the city. Now what happened is a section of one of those interceptors had to be worked on. They had to do some repairs, some reinforcements, and unfortunately they had to end up, obviously because they were doing work on that specific section, ended up having to basically bypass that section, and instead of going through that interceptor, they had to divert all that sewage into the river. And this was for, I think, about a week or two, or I think about a week if I remember. But one of the areas where that sewage was released was right here. And if you were to follow this path straight down there, basically is one of the openings for that interceptor pipe. And what happens occasionally, even in normal conditions, is if there's let's say a major rainstorm or some kind of a situation where the sewage system gets overwhelmed, what happens is it's kind of like a safety valve. Some of that sewage will overflow into the river here, what you're looking at, and this is one of those channels. And if you were to continue straight ahead, it would eventually lead to a massive tunnel. And if you went into that tunnel, you'd eventually go into the interceptor. Now, obviously, in a normal basis, there's a valve that prevents the water from coming out. But when they were doing the sewage work, that valve had to be opened up, and all the sewage was released into this little river area. And the way they had it set up was right here, where my finger's pointing. There was a big, I guess you could call it a device that was picking up all the solid sewage that came through. It was going across here, and I guess that was picking up any solid sewage. So a lot of the sewage ended up, I guess, being intercepted by that device. It's the same kind of device that I'm sure it's online somewhere, the picture of it. It's basically, when you have an oil spill or something, you see them deploy that mechanism right across. It's like a boom or something. It's like a big absorbent sponge thing, I guess you could call it. But anyway, of course, there was a few of these openings where they released the sewage, but I think this was the main one. And so this water here, I'm sure even on a normal basis is contaminated. But you can kind of see, I don't know if you can make the colors out, but it is kind of a brownish yellowish color. So I mean, a lot of times, you know, I'm sure when there's storms and the sewage system gets overwhelmed, I guess this is where a lot of that water spills into, this area here and then right into the river here. So when I was here in October, when they had that thing opened, you could see a lot of solid debris. You know, I'm talking about like paper towels, Kleenexes, straws, all kinds of weird things that were floating by here. So I mean, I guess even on a normal basis, this water is always somewhat contaminated, but it was more so contaminated in October when they did that. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out here, just to put things in a bit of perspective. Again, this is near Verdun here, the southern tip of the island. And to end the video on a nice note, let's take a look here at that beautiful ice floating by there. Mother Nature doing her thing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Enjoy.